afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Two Vintage Sports Guys. I am your host, Joe Rendacci. I got my special guest back today, Mr. Ricky Goldman, straight out of Atlanta. What's going on there, Ricky?
Good morning, everyone. Happy 4th. Thank you for having me back on there. Joe Rendace. Rendace, as Apple calls you.
Just hack the whole thing. Well, actually, if you spell check it, it comes out to redneck sometimes, but that that ain't I from the Northeast. All right, so let's jump right into it. Really, we're just down to the World Cup and baseball, and you've been enjoying the World Cup probably more than me. So give me some thoughts of where we're sitting today.
I watched about 2 seconds of soccer slash football over the past 3 years, and then over the past 2 weeks, I watched a lot of soccer slash football. And at first, I don't really understand the rules like most Americans, I admit. But I've learned a lot over the past 2 weeks. I've been hanging out with a bunch of people who are experts in the field of soccer and all the rules and everything else going on. So I've learned a lot, and I've come to my conclusion that the FIFA, which is the organization that runs the World Cup in soccer across the globe, really wants a Messi versus either Ronaldo or Mbappe France final. They're going to do whatever they can to have that be the result because you see some of the calls over the last couple of matches, you will see that, and it's pretty indicative. So
All right, so just to something you said there, I I I I look this up every few years, probably every World Cup because I forget, but why we call it soccer and the rest of the world calls it football.
yeah,
And basically, the word right off Google, the word soccer was invented by British university students in the late 1800s as slang for association football to distinguish it from rugby football. And when they crossed over here into the UK and from the UK and American football was starting to skyrocket, they just adopted the slang soccer to clear it between the two. But that's, to your point, I only know it as soccer. I realize 100 years living later that the world calls it football. And it
right,
really is more appropriate to be called football than our American football, where we're only hitting it like a third of the time, right?
right,
And that's their
sure,
total game. But
correct.
nevertheless, all right. So besides the conspiracies and besides you wanting the U.S., as do I, to win, what do you think have been some of the highlight moments so far?
So obviously, Messi and Mbappe both are leading, or so far the leading scorers with 6 goals apiece. I think one big highlight is the guy from Norway named Holland, Erling Holland, who's got about 5 goals. Guy's huge. He's like a Shaquille O'Neal for football. Are we calling it soccer or football for this thing?
Let's call it soccer because it'll be
Okay.
mostly
I just
American
want to make
based
sure we're
listening to
calling the
this.
right thing. All right. So for soccer, he's kind of like the Shaquille for soccer. The guy is probably 6'6". I mean, he's a tower out there. So anytime he gets the ball, so Norway is looking really strong, and all the main programs out there looking strong. Belgium, which had a little bit of a scare against Senegal the other day, came back and we're playing them on Monday night. And I think probably the biggest one is USA. USA is looking probably the most not just I don't know the right term here, but ecstatic. But in terms of just being not expecting to be this good, I mean, they're passing the ball really well among each other. They're striking it. They're playing incredible defense.
Yeah, but now
So
their star forwards out with the red card, right? So we
yeah,
just need to.
so we're going to go down the path. The two topics I wanted to discuss is the red card that happened against Bosnia the other night, and then last night's Croatia versus Portugal goal that was not allowed because offside. So for anyone on this podcast listening, most Americans don't understand soccer offside. I did not get it until just recently, and
Well, hang
basically,
on. Let me pause you there for a second. Well, I
mm,
know you're not a big hockey fan. You do know enough hockey
oh, I
to
know
know
hockey.
that
Yeah,
hockey is basically soccer on ice, and
right.
offsides is a huge part of it. So you do understand offside, right? You can't get there before, it's not much different than hockey. So
No, it's
what
big.
Bart does,
It's actually different because in hockey, all the offensive players have to start from the blue line before they cross over. You can't have one guy crossing over before the puck.
well, the puck's got to be over before the player.
Right. Well, okay, that's different. In soccer, a man cannot be past two guys or past two guys basically. And what's unique is that where you start and where the ball starts, it can be kind of controversial sometimes. Also, another thing is like you could be going against a goal and you can be offsides depending upon where the ball is struck and where the last defense guy is in soccer. Compared to hockey, as long as the puck's inside the blue line area, everyone's on side, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I've been watching the games and I've watched enough. I really don't see offside as a big problem. It doesn't really happen. How many times does it really happen on average a game?
Well, it's cost a lot of goals, many
Well,
goals. In
but
fact,
costing a lot of goals, but on average, how many times does it happen a game? Maybe three? It's not that
uh,
much that they're
well, I
really
mean,
going offside.
remember, there's not much scoring to begin with in soccer.
Well, that's a whole different problem. Take
I
two
mean, and
players
that's
each
the
off
thing.
the
Like,
field.
if you were to open it up a little bit, or change a little bit of the rules for offside in soccer, you may see a little bit more goals. All right, so here's case in point. All right, so last night's match, Croatia versus Portugal, it was 1-1, and then Ronaldo then gets a kick, penalty kick, which makes it 2-1. And that's a whole different conversation because when you do a penalty kick, the guy who's kicking the ball against the goalie, they can stop in midstream and then kick the ball afterwards. So basically, kind of like move the goalie around just by the way he's moving his feet. I don't know what the rules are, but that's just one of the
That you could do that. I mean, I watched the guy stutter step, like take baby steps the other day before he
yeah,
kicked him, right? So you can do whatever you want. Same thing in hockey. You literally, when you're taking a penalty shot or you're in that
right.
shootout, you could, if you're good enough, you could stop at the last second, wiggle it back and forth and shoot it, right? So I mean,
All right,
again,
okay, that's a good point. All right, so anyway, so it was 2-1, and then towards the end of the match, someone from Croatia kicks the ball up in the air. It misses the Croatian player. It then hits the Portugal player's guy's head, which then technically resets the offsides, believe it or not. Once it hits a defensive player, and it'll reset where you're offside or not. Well, anyway, the Croatian player who scored was technically offside, right? He was beyond the last defensive player. But because that defensive player from Portugal touched the ball, it technically should have reset it. So the guy who kicked the goal in should have counted, and it should have been 2-2. However, VAR, which is being used a lot, went back and they kind of freeze framed everything. And for some reason, they missed the fact the ball touched the Portuguese guy's head. It's clear as day.
well, and you, I'll post the picture too. You could see it in the thing I sent you in the chat window here,
Yeah.
where they show the spike. I don't know if you're looking at that picture. They show the spike of when it hits his head.
Yeah.
You see it?
So yeah, and I don't know how they missed that. The FIFA wants that ending. They want the kind of ending where it's going to obviously get a lot of attention. They want Portugal or Spain or Argentina versus Brazil. They want the main teams in, right? And they're going to do anything they can to make sure that they advance.
I
And
mean, is that a shock in any sport? I mean, I could still remember Otani striking out Trout as they were teammates in the World Baseball Classic, right? They couldn't ask for anything or write anything better than it coming down to that final strikeout.
yeah,
They do this in every
but it was,
sport.
but they not so blatant, right? It's the most blatant, the most blatant offense I've ever seen when it comes to like a penalty or non-call was the Rams New Orleans Saints championship game years back, right? When they didn't call it pass interference when clearly it was. This was kind of like that, but back then, there was no VAR for the NFL. This
No,
case,
they actually went to replay. Which one? What year are you
I'm
talking?
talking
Which
about
one?
when the Saints lost to the Rams in 2019 in
Okay,
New Orleans.
but they had replay.
No, they didn't. They did not have replay for pass
They
interference.
didn't have replay in 2019 for that.
No, they did not. They might have had it like a year or 2 years, like just to try it out, just to test it for 1 year. Remember, they tested it out 1 year and they decided to get rid of it because it was, most of the time the refs were correct. It wasn't
I
as
thought I maybe I'm thinking of a different playoff game where they went to review. It was still blatant, and they still didn't call it.
no,
Right? Like those
it was not that game. I can tell you that it was 100% not that game. So anyway, so moving along, so Croatia lost the match, and Portugal's moving on, and it was so clear as day that the fact that there was not offside. And then 2 nights ago, when USA was playing against Bosnia, and Belagon, accidentally stepped on the guy's ankle. He wasn't like blatant, like stepping on the guy's ankle. He was landing. How else could he have landed? Could he have just given him a yellow? Sure, but give him a red card where he missed the remainder of the game, and granted to USA team for going for 30 minutes on a penalty, right? And scoring.
Did they go to video replay to review that, or did they just call it and keep it?
No, they went video. So what happened was the referee didn't call anything. He just let it go, and then VAR called him aside and they reviewed it. They showed it. They reviewed it in slow time, so frame by frame. And if you look at it like frame by frame, it looks like it's a penalty. It looks like a red card because it looks like he's landing on his ankle, but it wasn't on purpose. So anytime you kind of slow the video, it looks more offensive than it actually is when you're doing it in real time. So actuality, it should not have been a red card. Most people were saying that. And the thing is that now he's not playing Monday night. So now USA is going to have to replace their best player, right? So
Well,
anyway,
who's favored? U.S. still favored?
I think Belgium's favored in this one.
I mean, how did even Belgium pull out coming back from 2 goals down with like 5 minutes left in that game?
Yeah, I don't know either. Exactly. And well, there was controversy in that too against Senegal. Again, who would want Senegal moving forward, right? People want Belgium, they want European countries. So, and there was a lot of controversy in that one as well.
Yeah.
So,
So how many shootouts? To me, the best part is the shootouts, right?
The penalty kicks.
Yeah, penalty kick shootouts were. I think I watched. Was it two in the same day or back-to-back days?
There was, and honestly, the best one was Germany versus Paraguay. If you watch, Paraguay is more of a defensive squad, and they actually scored in the first half, and then Germany came back and scored to tie it up somewhere in the middle of the second half. And all Paraguay did was just play defense the whole time. They were like, "We're going to play defense. We're going to go past the extra time, and we're going to get to penalty kicks, and that's where we're going to win. Or we're going to try to win because their goalie for Paraguay he's a tall dude. He's a big guy, and they stopped him. And it was like talking about being embarrassing. And the irony was the guy from Germany who took the last kick. He's like the best defensive player. He's not a striker. He's not a forward, so he's not a really good scorer. The guy who was supposed to make the kick decided he didn't want to, kind of bailed out on him. So now he's getting all this controversy for not doing the kick. And the guy who wasn't supposed to be kicking kicked the ball way over the goal, cost him the match. So anyway,
now that I don't know
the
how
beauty of soccer. So
I was going to say I don't know how you can miss the net. I get you trying to arc it, curve it, catch a corner,
right.
but you're on the biggest stage at the biggest moment. You cannot miss the net.
No, I know. No, it's not. He not only did he miss it, he missed the whole.
No, that maybe not that one, but I was watching those penalty kick shootouts. There was a bunch that just missed the net.
Oh,
They
yeah,
hit the post, hit the post, went over. I mean, you got enough space. Like at least get it stopped. Don't just miss it completely.
I'm not a fan of the way they do extra time in soccer. I like the hockey version when they go 3-on-3, right? And then the golden goal. That to me is way better than the extra time they do in soccer. But
I mean, again, we could spend a whole time talking about like it's an ADD 2026, and most of us don't have patience for 0-0 games. Or get to the shootout. Sure, we'll pay attention, but well, I'm just going to ask it again. Why not take one or two players off each team and open it up a little more, a la 3-on-3? If you don't even want to do it for the whole game, do it for the two extra 15-minute periods, right? Like, why not? You're not costing anybody a job. They're still on there through the game, right? So it's not like some players' union problem. It doesn't make sense. But You would think the U.S. in their own MLS, and you're obviously a United fan, right? United fan. What they could alter whatever rules they want, right? They don't have to adhere to anything globally. They
Right.
could change rules if they want. So just same way NHL does what they do compared to Sweden, Russia, and everywhere else around the world that they play their own brand of hockey. But whatever, we'll all watch these every 4 years, and it is interesting. I think it's so interesting because it's such a big stage. But I think for most Americans, it doesn't change that it's still a pretty boring game per se
Yeah, I
to
think
watch.
I think the best part about the World Cup for Americans is watching the Europeans come here and just enjoy what we have in terms of freedom that we didn't realize how we take for granted all these things that they
Right.
themselves are just gushing over. Like,
Yeah, they go to Walmart like it's the Ritz Carlton.
yeah, they go to Bucky's, ranch dressing. You can name all the different items we have. We just take for granted. Bass pro sports shops and all that. I mean, it's funny. I'm telling you, last night so I was at the Braves game last night. We'll turn to baseball in a second here, Joe. But I was at the Braves game last night, and behind me was this Brazilian family, and the guy who lives here in Atlanta, and the other people were all from Brazil here for the World Cup. And the two dads. There was one guy who could speak English, the other guy couldn't speak a lick of English, did not understand baseball one bit. So one guy was explaining baseball to him the whole time. And they were funny, and they stood up and they had this big banner that they showed, which got on the fan cam last night, which is kind of funny to begin with. And then at the end, towards the end of the game, and the Braves got killed last night. At the end of the game, you know how all the fans are going to the corner of a stadium and they're all taking their shirts off and they're kind of waving it. You know that trend that's going to all the ballparks now.
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So these two dads from Brazil, they and their kids go to that upper deck section of Truist, took off their shirts and started waving it around, and they got on fan cam doing that too. It was
Hey,
great.
hey, they're having a good time. It's going nuts on social media, and we'll
Yeah.
um, we'll continue to watch what they're doing there. But this was a good reach into where we are with the World Cup, and I appreciate you for guest hosting. And I'm going to have you back next week, and we'll cover where baseball is.
Okay. All right.
Say
Thank you
goodbye,
very
Ricky.
much, Joe. Great. Appreciate. Happy Fourth, everyone. Enjoy. Go
All right, bud.
USA. All right, man.
All right, guys, follow us. Talk to you soon. Have a great fourth. Take care.